Fresh air.
So Martin, your thing is journalism, very much journalism. That's your background. Just summarise for us what you've done up to this point.
Yeah, so I started off in newspapers and then quickly realised that I had a love for radio. I did some hospital radio, did a load of programmes for Bristol University radio station when they just launched. And I thought, I could make a career of this somehow. So I somehow managed to get onto a course at UCE, which is now City University in Birmingham. It was free to do a master's course, so I thought, I'll do that. And they had very strong links with Pebble Mill, the old BBC centre in Birmingham. Did some work experience there. As people always say, make yourself kind of indispensable, which I managed to do. Stayed there for 6 weeks. I didn't really leave. I kind of moved on to Radio 2 and worked with the great late Janice Long on the overnight shows, which was a lot of fun. She was amazing. From Radio 2, I moved on to Radio 4, where I started originally, and then quite quickly I got involved in a series called Costing the Earth, which is the environment series there. I did a degree in geography, and there was a bit of crossover because I studied a lot about climate change and things like that. And that was a series that was based on the changing environment. And when I started on that show, we had 6 episodes a year. And when I left it eventually in 2018, we had 32 episodes a year.
That was entirely down to your...
Of course input. It was, yeah. And a repeat slot. Obviously, kind of like... it reflects the growth in interest in environmentalism and the climate changing. But also alongside that, I moved around quite a lot and did a lot of things, also working on a series called On the Ropes with John Humphreys for many years, which is very, very difficult to research for and provide detailed briefs for, which was great fun and great training. And I've also worked in television quite a lot. I worked on a series called Coast, which was all about the UK coast. I've worked on Countryfile. I've worked on various different projects for the Natural History Unit. But the last thing I did, actually, before I joined Fresh Air, was a series with Hugh Fearnley-Whittingstall in which he investigated what happens to your plastic once you recycle it. That involved a lot of undercover filming in quite scary factories in the jungles of Malaysia that were owned by triads, and yeah.
You say scary, but I mean the first major project that you did for Fresh Air, which is still ongoing, is essentially taking on the world's most successful and richest criminal, Vladimir Putin. I remember having a first conversation with you that said, do you fancy doing a program about Putin? Does that worry you at all? Did it worry you? I mean, you've got fully into it since.
It's funny you say that, because I think we had a conversation earlier than that in which you said, someone's asked me to do a project about Putin. And I remember saying to you, I think, well, good luck to whoever's doing that.
Yeah, you did.
And then about 6 months later, you said, that project's come back again. What do you think? And yeah, bring it on. I thought it was brilliant. I mean, we looked at the story. We evaluated kind of the scope of it, the range of it. And, it was exciting. It's an exciting story. It's fascinating. It's got everything you want from... money heists to murders to, all those things that, you think, oh, crikey, you wouldn't get it in a movie, but actually it is real life.
And you get buried in it as well, don't you? That storytelling, that research.
Completely. And I love that side of things. It's, it makes a change to become really immersed in a subject, because over my years of being a journalist, you become an expert in very little amounts of an awful lot of things. So, I can tell you quite interesting facts about a lot of things, but not with the depth that I know about Russia now. So I surround myself in bedtime reading of Russia in the 20th century and things like that. And it's just a never-ending story which unfolds, and it's fascinating, and I love it.
And also that's a podcasting thing, isn't it? Because modern media is a lot about knowing small amounts about lots of stuff. We consume all our media in short bursts.
Yeah.
And so your point about being able to dive into a topic is for you as a journalist, but it's also for the listener, because they get that dedicated time. We all know Putin's a bad guy. We've known that for a long time. But I think one of the premises of The Big Steal was that we didn't really quite know why, or didn't know how bad he was. And I think being able to go into that amount of depth on a topic, and kind of vicariously, because you've researched it so much, the listener feels like they suddenly know so much more about the story than they did before.
And that's one of the reasons why I've always loved audio over TV and video, because, you know, the stories that you tell in radio and audio are so much more detailed than in TV, and it seems that reflects the attention span of the nation. Maybe, you know, people always want to get these quick hits on Snapchat, TikTok, you know, Instagram, the lot. But actually, there is a risk that storytelling, in-depth storytelling, could, you know, become a dying art, could become a lost art, and actually, without that art, what are we? We're a throwaway society. I mean, you know, we need to delve into these stories that deserve the attention, deserve the detail, because, you know, there's so much that people need to know about. We need to tell those stories, and I think that's not just a thing that's relevant to the Putin story. It's, you know, things like energy, things like travel, the environment. They're the topics at the moment, but, you know, there's so much more than that. Science.
Well, that's the other end of your portfolio, isn't it? Because you've got The Big Steal, you're still deep into Putin, but you're also doing projects that are all about sustainability and the environment. And again, that's an area where nuance is important, and storytelling is important, and depth is important, because the debates get so polarised and so simplified that actually someone like you can take more time to tell that story, really explore it properly.
Yeah, and I think the deeper you get, the more complicated things become, and you realise that there is no black and white in these stories, and the nuances do come out, you know. And I always look back to my career at the BBC and think, I remember doing a story about wind farms and wind generators and getting complaints from both sides, pro and anti, and realising, well, actually, I think I've got it about right then, if I'm getting that. And, you know, that's where the nuances have been lost. And I think the beauty of podcasting is to give those big players a chance to, you know, have a voice and tell their story, and then, you know, let people make their own mind up, rather than whoever shouts the loudest on Twitter.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Fresh.